show you how Trump's pick to lead the Justice Department could take down medical marijuana in Florida.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
And in tonight's mockumentary on the War of 2016.
And I want each and every one of you to march right in.
We'll show you how historians may describe the Democrats' smashing defeat to our kids.
The party insiders basically said, it's our party, we'll do what we want. War is hell.
This is Money, Power, and Politics. Okay, Marissa, let's start with some bad news for Hillary Clinton and for James Comey and medical marijuana in Florida.
The next U.S. Attorney General could crack down on all three of them.
Yeah, we're talking about Jeff Sessions, Alabama senator who could be the nation's top prosecutor. He's on the path, and he has railed on FBI Director James Comey, and Comey would be basically the boss for Jeff Sessions. Awkward.
Super awkward. And as for Hillary Clinton, Sessions has said if you get a subpoena for business records and then destroy those records, you're subject to criminal prosecution and will be prosecuted. Hillary Clinton's bad week may have just taken another turn for the worse.
There have been a few times this past week when all I wanted to do was just to curl up with a good book or our dogs and never leave the house again.
And then there's Sessions' position on pot.
Yeah, let's play that.
This drug is dangerous. You cannot play with it. It's not funny. It's not something to laugh about. And trying to send that message with clarity that good people don't smoke marijuana.
Yeah, you have Sessions who still has to get confirmed by the Senate. I may have said it backwards. I think that I said that Comey would report to Sessions. That's the right thing here. And keep in mind, Sessions said some controversial things in the past. He's going to have to deal with that in the confirmation hearing.
Like his joke about the Ku Klux Klan. He reportedly said that he thought the Klan was okay until he found out that they smoked pot.
Well, he said he was joking about that he doesn't really like the Klan. It was just a joke. But it tells you in the punchline there how much he dislikes marijuana. Sessions has said it's more harmful than alcohol, and here's where that could get interesting because the federal government still bans marijuana for recreational or medical use for the most part. Now, a lot of states allow it because the Obama administration just looks the other way.
Well, the next attorney general may not do that and could crack down on anyone who dispenses or uses pot, even in the states that allow it.
Well, President-elect Trump has said that he would not interfere with state medical marijuana campaigns on the trail. Marijuana advocates are hoping that he'll stick to that, but we're going to find out, of course, in a few weeks. Meanwhile, Democrats are, of course, reeling from last week's defeat and still scratching their heads over it.
And before they can recover, they have to figure out where they went wrong.
Can we help them with that?
How about a mockumentary in the spirit of Ken Burns?
Yeah. Do we have a Trail Tales for that?
Yeah, roll the clip.
It's time now for Trail Tales. The conflict divided North from South, young from old, and it caught the Democratic establishment by surprise.
I will be the nominee for my party, Chris. That is already done, in effect. There is no way that I won't be.
The establishment's plans to march unchallenged in Washington hit turbulence before it even started.
I remember particularly a trip to Bosnia where the welcoming ceremony had to be moved inside because of sniper fire.
There was no greeting ceremony, and we basically were told to run to our cars. Now that is what happened.
She forgot the war press had cameras.
I just said some things that weren't in keeping with what I knew to be the case.
General Clinton stumbled in Bosnia. Then she lost the Great War of 2008. She came out of retirement rustier than they thought.
We struggled to, piece together the resources for mortgages for houses, for Chelsea's education. It was not easy.
It may be hard for your viewers to remember how difficult it was for people to talk about HIV/AIDS back in the 1980s. And because of both President and Mrs. Reagan, in particular Mrs. Reagan, we started a national conversation.
And obviously, Secretary Clinton quickly realized the error that she had made, and she put out a statement.
The general exposed her weakness.
I've seen very little improvement in the candidate skills. If anything, having been Secretary of State, a position where you're treated as a potentate, she may have gotten worse. It's tough to go back to rope lines after you've been with kings and queens.
As she declared herself a champion of the people, the general wore dark glasses to conceal her face in public and strung rope lines to keep the mudrakers at bay. And as winter set in, her vast army bogged down on the snowy plains of Iowa.
I think the people of Iowa have sent a very profound message to the political establishment.
To the establishment, Senator Bernard Sanders was old and rumpled, nothing more than a silly nuisance to inevitable coronation of General Clinton.
Why would the Democrats nominate someone who's not even a Democrat? To me, it really doesn't make any sense.
The old guard scoffed at the insurrection from the small Green Mountain State and lashed young women who would not fall in line.
There's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other. Madeleine Albright.
But to the dead-ridden young masses, Sanders was a burning supernova of charisma.
We need bold changes. We need a political revolution.
And it sent shivers through the establishment, and winter set in.
For I fear this great war may be the end of me. DNC Commander Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Okay, well, there you go. Now let's bring in Matt Towery, our pollster, who also correctly predicted the Democrats' defeat 6 nights before the election on our very show.
I did. Every once in a while I get lucky.
And we're talking about the Democrats here. What is it going to take to recover from what has happened after this election? What needs to change for the Democrats?
Well, I ran into some very prominent Democrats really the night after the election, the former ambassador among them. And this person's very close to the Clintons. He said, we've got to find a way to win back the white working person.
So who would you suggest for the Democrats? Dean, Ellison, somebody else?
Well, you know, I think probably in terms of their leadership, it's hard to say right now. I think they need to look more at their leadership on Capitol Hill. And Nancy Pelosi has been a very, very strong leader. She's raised a lot of money for a lot of folks in the House. It's going to be hard to knock her off. But Tim Ryan is sort of a Rust Belt type candidate. He's challenging Nancy Pelosi to be their leader in the House. That's where it all starts. The DNC is not as critical right now because they are, quite frankly, just trying to raise money to pay off incredible debts that they'll have after this thing is over. They won't have much to do with electoral politics for quite some time down the road. But as far as the leadership in the House, House of Representatives, Pelosi's got a battle on her hands. They have put it off. And I think they're going to have to look at someone like Tim Ryan, who is a Rust Belt candidate, who represents that area, is a little more moderate and might appeal more to those white working collar voters that they lost in this election cycle. They've got to go one or two ways. They've either got to moderate and come to the middle, or they got to go hard line to the left with a Bernie Sanders-like approach to politics. They can't stay where they are because that isn't getting them their votes.
Matt Towery, thank you for your time, as
Sure.
always.
Absolutely.
Okay, coming up, remember how Trump promised a big, beautiful wall, then said parts of it could be scaled back to a fence? Well, now Republican leaders in Congress say it could be scaled back to an invisible fence.
And Charlie Belcher is back in our mailroom with the special Money, Power, and Politics post-election mailbag special. It's a mouthful. We'll have it after the break.
Okay, Marissa, you're in charge of the gaffe of the week. Every week, what do you have dialed up for us?
Well, we have another interesting tweet from President-elect Donald Trump.
Fun.
It reads, "Just got a call from my friend Bill Ford, chairman of Ford, who advised me that he will be keeping the Lincoln plant in Kentucky, no Mexico." So Trump took credit for this, adding that he worked hard to keep the plant in Kentucky. He owed it to the great state of Kentucky for their confidence in him.
Well, good for him. Where's the gaffe in that?
Well, a report from Reuters revealed Ford had not even planned to move that factory to Mexico, and that it had repeatedly said it had no plans to close any of its factories in the United States.
Oh, that's different. That's different. Okay.
Yeah. Well, speaking of different, Charlie Belcher's in the mailroom again tonight.
And he said he's working on something really special, really drilling this thing up. So let's head over to the mailroom to see what he's cooked up for us.
Hi, hello, Money, Power, Politics audience. Charlie Belcher here, coming to you from the Money, Power, Politics mailroom with an extra special post-election mailbag special. Yeah, it is special on the front end and the back end. That makes it really special. Stop that music. I need some presidential music. Yeah, there we go. Huh? Yeah, that's the spirit. In fact, you know, one of my favorite things about TV coverage of elections, bunting. I love seeing the bunting in the back of the shots in the newsroom. Unfortunately, here at Fox 13, the bunting has been packed away at least for another couple of years until the midterms. However, oddly enough, the Money Power Politics mailroom doubles as a storage room. So I know where they keep the bunting. Now, granted, I'm not authorized to go into these boxes, and I'm not supposed to be touching the bunting because it's property of Fox 13's promotions. Fortunately, nobody ever comes down here but me. Huh? Now this is a special Money Power Politics mailbag election, post-election special. Special on both ends. Shall we get to the emails? Yes, we shall. Our first one comes from Mary. She says, Craig, watching your reports were great on election night. I went to bed knowing that your reporting made me realize I would wake up with great news. I guess we see where you're leaning there, Mary. Next says, Craig, I love your take on politics. Another hit. You all did a great job. And don't forget Mailroom Charlie. Diane. Mailroom Charlie. That's me. Here's one of a dissenting view. Dear Craig, putts! Exclamation point. Judy. Sorry, Craig, but I got to read the good with the bad. Craig, I watched you all night. Great job. Love that you called Florida way before the rest of the media. Signed, Ann. Here's another one. Craig, you are the best. Highly informative reporter/analyst, like the media should be. Unbiased. Appreciate you and your team. Elizabeth. Thanks, Elizabeth. I like to feel I'm part of the team. More like the kicker, maybe, who comes on once in a while and is about 60% accurate. Yeah, that's me. Here we go. Craig, awesome job. Craig is the best. And his team, too. Erlene. Another one for the team. Craig, you do the best job. We tried watching other commentators, but kept going back to you. Thank you. Stasia. Yeah, don't try any other commentators. Stick with Craig. Craig, you guys rocked. Better coverage than any network through the entire campaign, and especially on election night. Alan. Thank you, Alan. Craig, your coverage is the best of any other. I've flipped to a few other channels, but come back to 13. You and the rest of the Fox 13 are still top notch. Your research and clear explanations are very helpful. You make it very clear. Signed, Shirley. Shirley, no flipping, no flip-flopping. Stay with us. Craig, thanks to Craig Patrick for the job he has done through this election process. He is truly an asset to the station and his viewing public. I hope he takes some time off. Susan. Yeah, Craig, take a day off, will you? Craig, come on, y'all. Trump is a big joke. Please help our children and women. Thank you. Penny from Claremelle. Yes, Penny. That point of view is out there as well. And finally, Craig, what is there? Star? Not. Plane? Not. Sherry. Sherry, we can always count on you. Keep those emails coming, everybody. You know the address, mppmailbag@yahoo.com. That is mppmailbag@yahoo.com. All right, we're enjoying this special Money Power Politics Mailbag Post-Election Special. Well, it's over. Yeah, kill the music. Go back to the regular music. The bunting must be packed away at least until the midterm elections. That's right, folks. The election is over. We have a president-elect. Whether you like it or not, let's all move on, shall we? Back to you, Craig.
All right, thanks, Charlie. Well, coming up, Trump's plan to wall over border with Mexico keeps getting scaled back.
Yeah, we're going to show you what Republicans in Congress want to change next.
We will build a great wall along the southern border.
Yep, that was the promise that launched Donald Trump. Mexico would pay for a big, beautiful wall. He would deport people living here illegally, then use the money from Mexico to wall off the border.
But now Republican leaders in Congress say that wall could be scaled back to a fence in places or even an invisible fence using drones to patrol the border.
Yeah, it keeps changing here. Republicans now on Capitol Hill say we should think of the wall more as a metaphor. It's a concept.
And Trump himself said the wall could be dialed back in places to a fence.
Are you really going to build a wall?
Yes.
They're talking about a fence in the Republican Congress.
Sure.
Would you accept a fence?
For certain areas I would, but certain areas the wall is more appropriate. I'm very good at this. It's called construction. But
so part wall, part fence?
Yeah, it could be. There could be some fencing.
Yeah, keep in mind that Trump won 30% of the Latino vote, much more than the pre-election poll suggested here. With that, this premise of a wall just did not drive voting behavior on election night. So that's where we are. Now, you're in charge every weekend of coming up with something different. I think you've got something special lined up for us tonight, I hope.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable story of a Georgia man that still doesn't know who won the presidential election. We'll have that story after the break.
Well, Marissa, big doings this week. We launched a new game show segment called Was That Trump? And then we brought back one of our all-time favorites. But boy, we've had a lot to cover here.
Yeah, well, for our weekend extra, let's show a couple of snippets, beginning with Mark Wilson and former Buccaneer Brad Culpepper on political squares.
Careful, Brad. This is going to get a little tricky.
Brad, who do you like?
I'll take Mark.
You're going to take Mark. Mark, this one's you.
All right, hit me. Oh, I don't really want to get hit by Brad Culpepper, so just ask the question.
Where do we get the term stump speech?
I got this. Piece of cake. You know, back in the olden days, I've been doing this for centuries nearly. They would say things to, in a sense, stump the campaign opponent. Hence, maybe mislead them, a few other different kind of directions, stumping them, so to speak, confuse them. It's like a Jedi mind trick.
I believe that's incorrect. I think a stump speech was standing on a stump to give a speech back in the day.
You're going to disagree?
I disagree.
And he nailed it. He got that one right.
Can't pull anything over on this guy. You're exactly right. Back in the days, you know, you would literally stand on a stump, and then at the same time, if you tripped over that stump, then you would, in a sense, be stumped.
And now, the host of Was That Trump? Craig Patrick.
Okay, welcome to our first edition of Was That Trump? Where our contestants, they compete to decide if a certain statement was Trump or somebody else. Let's meet our contestants. Sir, tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
Hi, my name is Charlie Belcher. I'm from the newsroom. Sometimes I'm in the mailroom. A lot of times I'm in the mailroom. Nice to be here. Nice to be here, Craig.
Contestant number one.
Was that Trump, you say?
Was that Trump? You gotta say it. Was that Trump?
Was that Trump?
There you go.
A lot of people said that the day after the election.
Contestant number two, tell us about yourself.
I'm Marissa Lynn, and I'm from Money, Power, and Politics.
Well, we didn't go far for this one.
Good joke, good joke.
Okay, let's start with the first quote here. You have a buzzer. Whoever rings in first. You have to say if it was Trump or somebody else. Here we go. This country needs a leader. I think I have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect.
That was Trump.
That was not Trump.
No.
Take a look.
This country needs a leader. I think I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours.
It was Joe Biden.
Wow.
There you go.
Really?
All right, Charlie's 0 for 1.
Wow.
Here we go again. Okay. Here's the quote on healthcare. Everybody's got to be covered. I'm going to take care of everybody, and the government is going to pay for it.
That was Trump.
That was Trump.
Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say.
Yes.
What? That wasn't Obama? Wow, I'm now catching on to this show. Was that Trump?
And you're pretty good at that one, Marissa. This fellow behind me is good at keeping his head buried in the sand. He still doesn't know who won the election.
Yeah, look at that. He doesn't know who won and doesn't want to know. And
Yeah.
I still don't know how almost 2 weeks after the fact, he still doesn't know who won the presidential election. But he said he was so fed up with the political system that he just decided to cut every form of media off. And Nathalie Pozo up in Atlanta caught up with him.
And I'm still living in a bubble of blissful ignorance.
Joe Chandler works from home. He's an artist, and drawing calendars is what has consumed him over the past week after he decided he was not going to find out who won the presidential race.
I was invited to a little election party to stay up into the night with everybody gnawing their nails and hanging on, and I thought, oh, there's got to be a better way.
Chandler says he woke up the next morning and felt so at ease, he decided to give it just a few more hours.
Having subtracted myself from this political fracas and all of the mayhem of the digital media, I've kind of found the center of the cyclone. It's very peaceful in my little bubble of ignorance.
A week after the election, Chandler says he still does not know who won, staying away from televisions, newspapers, and social media. And when he goes out, which is seldom, he wears headphones and this sign that says, "I don't know who won and don't want to. Please don't tell me."
For me, it's like a breath of relief.
Chandler's daughter, Emily Westergreen, lives in Noonan and is serving as her father's liaison, sending him edited versions of what's going on in the world.
Telling him about things that are happening, that there's civil unrest, you know, that there are people rioting, but I'm not saying which side, so that could go either way.
Chandler says this was not planned, adding that he is not protesting a particular candidate.
Not a big fan of either, but I did have a huge preference of the regime that I was hoping we would avoid.
Chandler says he may not be able to live in his bubble too much longer.
And at some point, I'm just going to get such cabin fever that I say to heck with it and just go out into the world and live my life again.
But he's already doing that. He's wearing the headphones where he can't hear anything.
I just want to know how long this is actually going to last, because I feel like it can't last that much longer.
Well, he doesn't know we're out of time either. That's the end of our show. So we'll see you again tomorrow night. Take care.